I am going to create another practice part in Onshape. This one is from the Essentials of Drafting book that is in the public domain. I've included a link. Here is a picture of the part. And so I encourage you at this point to pause the video, take a couple minutes to look at this drawing, and then figure out how would I go about modeling this in Onshape. Okay, so this picture, this drawing is particularly frustrating. I'm going to do the main part of this part. I'm going to skip that web, that flange, because it's just poorly dimensioned. But let's take a look at doing this. Okay, so let's start off. I'm going to create a brand new document. Let me go to Create Document. And I don't know, this is some kind of, I'll just call it flange part for lack of anything, or linkage, some kind of rotating linkage. And let's create the document. Okay, so I am in my part studio. If I go to the hamburgers, I can verify that my workspace unit, it's in millimeters. This is supposed to be in inches, so I can change that. And for the first sketch, I'm going to start on the plane called front. I will right click and choose New Sketch. Then I will look normal to the sketch plane. And so if you've studied this drawing, you can see that the sort of like the first reference for dimensioning is actually that slot in the middle. So I'm going to start with that. So let's create our slot. I'll start off by sketching a circle, and let me get it to focus on the origin, and then drag up a bit, and then let's drag this out to a distance. And then I need another circle, so let me get it to line up here, and then drag it out. Let's make them the same diameter, same radius by clicking both of them. And now let's connect them with a couple of lines. And let me escape and line again from here. Okay, and I think I got tangency on them. Let me escape and then cut away some of the entities that I don't need, so I just get that one single loop. Now let's go about dimensioning this. And so the first dimension that I am going to put in is the distance from here to where my base is going to be. So let's put in from here to here. And then this is going to be a value of 3/8 or 0.375. And then let's zoom in a little bit. Let's see our height of the slot. They don't give a diameter or even a radius. They have the dimension from here to here. And this is going to be equal to 7/16. I'm just going to do the math right here, 7/16. And it gives me the little F function indicating that, hey, yeah, you just typed in 7/16. I am fine with that. Then we have the width of the slot. So let's create a dimension from here to here. And this is going to be a value of 1.25. So that is good for that. And then the next major feature that we have dimensioned off of this is a circle, but I'm going to need some reference geometry. So let me turn off my plane display for a moment. I'm going to hit the P key. Again, this is a bit of a frustrating exercise. And I need to have a center line to get sort of the center of the circle right about here. So let me put in, I'm going to go right to construction mode, and let's make a horizontal line, and I'm going to exaggerate its length and just drag it out about, I don't know, maybe this big. Again, it's just going to be some reference geometry, and I will hit the escape key. And so this line is dimensioned from the center of the radius, the arc on the slot. So let's go to the dimension, and let's dimension this to this, and then locate the dimension. And this is going to be a value of 0.5. By the way, if you hear the frustration in my voice, it is real. This is really some kind of a drawing. And so now we can make the circle over on the left, or the hole on the left, and let me focus in on the construction line that I made, and let's drag this out, and this is going to be about 1.5, so I can drag it out that depth. And let's start dimensioning this, and so I will go to dimension and grab this, and this is going to be, they give this, yeah, oh wait, actually this is going to be 3/4 of an inch, yeah, way too big, 0.75. And then we are going to dimension the distance from the center of the circle to this center, and it's going to be a horizontal dimension, and this is going to be a value of 1.125. All right, so that is fine for that one. And then I'm going to work on that arc slot located on the right-hand side, because then we have our distance from this circle that I just made out to the one over here. So like before, I am going to go into construction mode. I could create the arc and then turn it into a construction entity, but I know that this is purely going to be construction, so I'm going to start out with that from the beginning. And so for creating an arc, I know where the center is. It's the center of that circle. And then I'm just going to eyeball the start and the end. So let's go to center and point arc, and then pick the center, and then drag out. And I know that this needs to be a radius of 3 7/8. So let me, again, I'm just going to start it up high and go down low farther than it needs to be. And then I can jump right into dimensioning it. And this is going to be a radius of 3 7/8. So that's what? 3.875. Again, I could just do the math in the radius dimension itself, but I could figure it out on my own. So then for making our slot, let me start off with a couple of circles, because we know the distance of the circles from this construction entity itself. And so maybe this is a good exercise just to have to figure out how to do stuff. So let's make a circle about over here, and then a circle that would be about over here, and drag it out, and let's make them have the same diameter. And then let's start dimensioning what we know. Let's dimension from the center of this circle to this line, and then left mouse click. And this is going to be 1 11/16. So I'm just going to type in 1 plus 11 divided by 16. I'm using my dear Aunt Sally, so this should be mathematically correct. And let's see. Let's dimension from here to here. And this distance is going to be a value of 7/8 or 0.875. So that's good for those two. And then to make the rest of this slot, I am going to put in a couple of arcs. And by the way, I've never checked to see if that's like a default shape that's somewhere available in here, but that's okay. I can construct it manually. Let's create a center point arc again, and we'll center it on this circle. And I'm going to let it snap into being tangent here. Is it tangent? There. And let's do the same thing here, and then I'm not sure I'm getting tangency, but I can always throw that in later on. Okay, and it gives me a little sign that's closed off. Let me make sure that we're getting the tangency here and here. And let's make sure we have tangency here and here. Looks like I did. And here and here. Oh, adjusted that. And here and here. Okay. All right, so let's see, what do we need in here? We know that the width of the slot is 1/4. And so I am going to create a dimension. Let's create a dimension for this. And let's make that 0.25. And it shrunk it down. Let me use the trim tool to get rid of some of these different entities. Oops. Let's hit the undo button. Let's try using trim again. How's this? That one looks good. Oh, these aren't exactly touching. So let's try to, no, trim extend. Extend this to this. Okay, looks like that worked, and looks like a bunch of things turned black. Let's go to trim once more and trim this. Okay, so this actually looks pretty good for the slot. And so we actually end up starting out by modeling sort of like the negative geometry, which is just a little bit weird to me. So anyhow, for doing the rest of this stuff, let me do the horizontal lines about this slot. And so I'm going to turn on my plane display once more, and let's create some lines. And I'm going to make this line, I'm going to exaggerate it, start all the way out over here and go all the way out about over here. So that's good for one of the horizontal lines. Let me escape out, and let's see, just taking a look at the picture once more as I'm trying to figure out how to do this. Let's also do another line, and it's going to be, I don't know, let's eyeball it here to about here, and then hit the escape key. And so we know the dimension from here to here. So I'm going to throw it in right now. Let's dimension from here to here. And this is going to be a value of 3/8 or 0.375. Hit the enter key. And let's see, now that I've got those two lines, then I can do the arc going around this area. And so I'm going to make a 180-degree arc around that circle on the left. So let's go to our arcs. And again, this is going to be a center point arc. And so let's do center here. And let me see, this is going to be a radius of 3/4. So I can, do it about over here to 180 degrees. By the way, I'm making an assumption that it is 180 degrees because it is just unclear in the drawing, at least from my perspective. And so this radius is going to be 0.75. And let me trim off some of the entities. Let's go to the trim command. And I'm really interested in hearing your comments on the video about how you would have attacked this, because this is a little bit frustrating for me. Okay, I'm going to hit the escape key. I'm going to move this over. And our next part, we have another arc down over at the bottom, and it's got a different radius dimension. So let me do a center point arc, and we don't have the exact location of the center. So again, I'm just going to eyeball it, and let's make it starting here and let it snap in there. And let's see, let's put in our dimension for this, and I'm going to use a value of 1.25. And it adjusted it. Ooh, a little fortuitous here that it made it so that the horizontal line that I eyeballed is just about good enough. So I'm going to trim away that entity. Where are you, scissors? There we go. Let me use this and got rid of that. Got rid of that endpoint. Okay, so that is what I'm going to use over on the left-hand side. I'll take care of that sharp corner right there in a moment, because again, the intent is just a little unclear to me. All right, I don't think I need my planes displayed anymore, so I'll use the keyboard shortcut P to turn them off. And then for the end, I am going to offset the entities for that angled slot, that curved slot over on the side. So I will go to the offset command. Let me pick 1, 2, 3, 4 entities. Let me flip it to the outside, and it needs to be outside a distance of 0.25. Let me left click in order to complete it. And then I'll just hit the enter key to take that distance. And so that is good. Let me go to the trim command once more, and I'll trim away this entity. And let's see, we have a little bit of a gap. And so let me hit the escape key to get out of trim mode. I'm just going to grab this endpoint and drag it past, and then just trim away the excess. Okay, and trim away this little phantom point over there. All right, let's see. Well, I'm still in the trim tool. Might as well get rid of some of these entities. Okay, and so that, for the most part, is the shape, and I've got a couple of ugly sharp corners, so I'm going to put in a bunch of different sketch fillets. So let me select here, and can I do there, and here, and here, and left click, and that radius is way too big. Let's try a smaller one, 0.25. And so 3 of them work. Let me throw in another one. Sketch fillet right there. I don't know why it's giving me such a huge distance radius. Okay, 0.25. There we go. And that one is okay. And so that is the main part of the shape. Just taking another look. Yeah, I'm going to have some blue dots from the lines that I extended. I don't know. I'm just going to live with them. And so let's hit the check mark to complete the sketch. And now I can try extruding this. And so let's click on the extrude command, and I will pick this part. And there you can see the figure. Let me change this to a symmetric depth. And this is going to be a value of 0.5. I will hit the enter key, and I'm happy with that extrude, so I will hit the check mark. So there's kind of like my best guess at how I would have done that figure 404. And again, the 404 is appropriate because I am a bit lost on this one. So let me know what you think about this modeling exercise. I encourage you to try it for yourself. Yeah, let me know what you think.